Good! Get the there!
Given Mr Speaker's response to that point of order, can you tell this committee why your ministers are failing to follow the Nolan principle of accountability, which requires that they submit themselves to scrutiny for their public
concerns with me, and we usually try to address the concerns that he's flagged with us, and I'm always happy to do so. That's an ongoing discussion, so that there is the scrutiny that is needed of the statements that have to be made.
When minister questions from MPs, which part of the Ministerial Code is being upheld?
Well, it's not just the Ministerial Code, it's the role of Parliament, which almost sits above the Ministerial Code. Mr Speaker feels this very strongly, that we are accountable to Parliament.
Do you feel this very strongly?
Yes, I do, and that's why I regularly discuss it with the Speaker, and look at. He will usually flag with me where he's got concerns, as I would expect him to, and then we go through those and try to make sure they're not.
Were you aware of this point of order raised last week?
I was, yes.
Thank you. I will now refer to a further contemporary example. I understand that this coming Thursday, the last day before the forthcoming parliamentary recess, your government, Prime Minister, intends to publish a progress report on the Grenfell inquiry by way of a written ministerial statement. Given Mr Speaker's comments and your confirmation that you're aware of that point of order, as head of government, why are you permitting this lack of upholding standards, given the important progress report on the Grenfell inquiry and other statements that I understand will be made on Thursday? What are you going to do about that?
Well, I'll happily have a look at the proposed written ministerial statement on Thursday and discuss it with the Speaker.
Thank you. It does give accurate and truthful information to Parliament, correcting any inadvertent error at the earliest opportunity. Prime Minister, you are of course familiar with that paragraph of your Ministerial Code, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, by reference to a recent example and to assist you in showing how you comply with the extract from the Ministerial Code, I would like to turn to last week's Prime Minister's questions, when the Leader of the Opposition asked you, how many extra teachers are there since your government took office? Now, fullfact.org, a neutral website, only a few days ago published that the PM, and I quote, claimed that the number of teachers in England is more than when the Conservatives left office. Fullfact.org added, and I quote,
what does it look like when a Prime Minister gets cornered not by the press, not by protesters, but by their own Parliament? This week, we found out. And what happened inside that committee room should alarm every single person who believes that governments exist to serve the public, not to manage them. Keir Starmer sat before a parliamentary committee and faced something modern politicians are masterful at avoiding: direct, structured accountability. MPs grilled him on whether his ministers are genuinely submitting themselves to parliamentary scrutiny or simply performing the appearance of it. His answers were slick, practiced, reassuring on the surface. But dig underneath, and a very different picture emerges. Then came the killer blow. The Grenfell Inquiry Progress Report, one of the most sensitive, morally weighty documents this government will ever publish, is being dropped via a quiet written ministerial statement on the last day before parliamentary recess. No debate, no floor questions, no cameras pointed at ministers forced to answer for their decisions. Just a document silently placed in the record while MPs scatter for the holidays. That is not transparency. That is management. And here is why that matters beyond Westminster. Grenfell is not a political football. It is 72 people who died in a burning tower block while the state failed them. Their families have waited years for answers, for justice, for someone in power to look them in the eye. Choosing to release the progress report this way is not a scheduling accident. It is a choice. And someone made it. When the committee pushed further, pointing to Starmer's own ministerial code, the rule that demands ministers give Parliament accurate and truthful information, Full Fact had already done the damage. The Prime Minister had claimed teacher numbers were up since Labour took office. Full Fact said the picture was far more complicated than that. The code says correct errors at the earliest opportunity. The clock is ticking on whether that actually happens. Starmer built his entire political identity on integrity, on being different, on doing things the right way. Every evasion in that committee room, every carefully worded non-answer, every sensitive report buried in a written statement before recess, it all costs something. And what it costs is the very thing he staked his premiership on. Trust is not lost in one dramatic moment in British politics. It bleeds out slowly, quietly, in rooms most people never see. The question now is whether anyone in this government realises the bleeding has already begun.